out.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the very first episode of PK's Uncensored Podcast. I'm Lismari,
And I'm Junior.
and we're siblings and we're pastor kids.
Yes, we're here to bring the word out on how growing up was as a pastor kid, how it started, how our lives was from 5 to like now, and I feel like it's really going to be an interesting episode.
Yep. And we really decided to make this podcast to bring to importance how us pastor kids feel. And hopefully, through this, you guys are able to get to know us and also be able to sympathize with us, not just pastor kids, but ministry kids as well. So, for starters, I'm going to start by saying my upbringing from when I was born all the way to when I was 5, and then we'll go with Junior.
Of course.
So I was born in New York, Brooklyn, New York. I'm 18 years old, and I lived in New York for about until I was 4. Then I moved to Panama for less than a year, and then I came back to Maryland at the age of 5, which is where I started to live with my dad full time, and he rekindled his relationship with my mom, and that's when their calling to be youth pastors came.
Well, mine was a little different. From the start, I was also born in Brooklyn in the straight ghetto, but um, before I was like 1, I moved with my mom to Panama, and I lived there until I was 12. I didn't know anything about Christ really. I wasn't really related to church. My family over there they claim themselves as Catholic, but even though they still didn't go to church. That's really what they believed in, but we still didn't go to church at all. And when I got here at the age of 12 in 2021, um, it was really different, because she was in the ministry and she was in that pastor life since they were youth pastors. But when I got here, it was really a big transitioning moment for the whole family because they were going from youth pastors to senior pastors, that same year I came. So,
Yep.
Responsibility became a big thing. So,
Yep. But before we get to them being senior pastors, while he was in Panama from until 12, the
till
5 to
12,
12, 1 to 12,
a whole life.
I was there. I was here in Maryland while my parents were youth pastors. I was 5, and that's when they got the ministry. And, it was a big ministry at that time. My dad started a youth conference called Impacto, which was really big for the state of Maryland as there wasn't many youth conferences during that time. So my dad gained a lot of youth. The responsibility became bigger as time went on. I was 5, 6, 7. I was at church all the time. I was at church all the time. I was going out with the youth. If they went to King's Dominion, I went. If they went to Six Flags, I went. If they went to Dave and Buster's, I was there. I was
out.
there all the time.
She was out.
Very much.
I wasn't. At that, well, I was not outside like outside with like grown people, but I used to play soccer with my cousins, and that's quite it. But
Yeah.
I mean, when I got here, I really got to meet all those youth that she was usually with, but they were more grown. Like some of them got kids now. One of them is pushing 40. So it's sorry, Uncle, sorry, but no, like it was a big change. It was really a big change because she knew all these people. I didn't know none of these people.
Yeah.
I basically didn't know her. It was I used to talk to her on the phone. I used to talk to my dad on the phone a lot, but it was still new people that you really gotta like live with, And not only that, like she was telling me all these things that she had to go through weekly, daily, and it's like you really do this all the time, like
Yep.
coming from church at like 11 and then having to go to school that same next morning is like a little crazy, and being a 12-year-old having to do that is a little pushy.
So when Junior came, it was the year I believe before quarantine really started, before COVID hit. So he
No,
really
after, because I came 2021. It was after COVID.
Oh.
Yeah, mask on and everything.
Well, when he came, the responsibility wasn't as big as it was before COVID, because he came, things were slowly progressing because we were going back into church, back into the same routine, but we still had the distancing, we still had the mask, so service wasn't as huge as it was before COVID.
I mean, y'all gotta understand we were in a like smaller congregation than it is now, so it wasn't such a big responsibility, but it was still kind of there. Now moving church, like when we moved churches, I feel like that was the hardest thing and that I've had to deal with, and at
Yep.
least in this path of being a pastor kid.
Yep, because when we were in our Lanham location, it was about max 60 people that could fit, I believe,
I think 50.
inside the temple. But when we moved to the Laurel location,
It's like 100,
it was,
like
yeah,
135.
the capacity grew, but we didn't find the building all nice
Nice
and
and built,
ready
yeah.
ready for service. We had to construct it down. It was a huge
Yeah,
process.
imagine we went to a lobby, to one side of the church, to then the
Then the
full
actual
temple,
full temple.
and then it still comes with a lot of things. Like even now that the church is, well, in people's eyes maybe
Basically
done,
done.
it's never finished. Like this life never finishes, never ends. So, but I feel like maybe the middle of it, like going through that whole thing, was pretty
Mm-hmm.
harsh, because that same year our dad got sick, and our mom was pregnant. So it was like a lot of responsibility was on us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we got to take care of our dad, we got to take care of our mom, and we also have a little sister. So it's like it was a lot.
It was a lot to balance.
Hmm.
And honestly, that, not threat, but that, well, yeah, threat of the enemy came because we were moving churches. He
Hmm.
knew that once we moved churches, more lives would be
Right.
like caught to
Because we
Christ.
also grew in like really fast. Like it was like every time we
Yeah,
were moving to get more people seated in the church,
it
it's like
was.
every more people was like the chairs were filling up.
Yeah, like once we were packed in the lobby, then
We moved.
miraculously,
Yeah.
we moved to the other side of the
The
church,
church.
which was bigger. And then once that got filled, then we switched positions to even bring more people. So he knew what he was doing by throwing threats to our
Right.
family like that.
I feel like another thing that I saw a lot during that process was the love that people have for us. Cause like people may think that it's all bad, but it really isn't all bad. Like
Hmm.
it's a lot of good stuff that comes with it. So you saw the love of people really caring for us, people asking how our dad is, and I feel like that love you can feel it as a pastor kid and maybe as a ministry kid. Like the church really really shows up for you,
Yep.
and a lot of times.
And it was a big switch from when we were in the older location. You wouldn't really see the older people
Hmm.
asking the pastor kids, maybe because we were also smaller,
We were,
like age wise, and the other pastor kids, they're much younger than us. We're just 18, 16. They're much younger, so maybe they're not like, oh, like let's ask them how they are. But once we made the switch to the Laurel location, people were more like, oh, how are you guys?
There is a topic that I do want to touch, about the fire, about how the house got on fire, how that happened, because we really experienced it in two different ways. So how was that for you? Because for me, I mean, it was hard, but I mean, your perspective was a little different.
Well, for me, once we received the call, we were just like, oh, we didn't think it was nothing that bad. Like,
Yeah,
we thought it was just maybe just like a
little
little thing,
smoke,
a little
little
small
smoke.
fire, a little thing. But then when we saw, I stayed in the car with Sarah and Caleb,
Hmm.
which are our two younger siblings. I stayed in the car with them because at that time we didn't think it was nothing that bad. Then I had a chance to step out, and when I saw the house, it was just like I literally froze and I started bawling my eyes out because you're seeing your home, you're seeing your
Hmm.
like everything you built up, and it's just like down,
Hmm.
like everything just went down, and it's just like wow, like really like materialistic stuff really goes away easily.
Hmm.
Like when people say the only thing you really do have at the end of the day is God, it's true. Like
Hmm.
everything can go down to flames and it's just done.
Hmm.
But it was really hard because we had everything. Like people say like, oh, like
You
clothes
can
is
replace those
nothing.
things, yeah,
Yeah, you can replace everything,
but
but
it's not that simple.
yeah,
It
because
really
it's
isn't.
like all the memories you had in there, they're just all
And
gone.
I feel like people say that a lot, and it never really means, like, they don't really understand what they're saying until it really happens to them. Because like when I really wanted to go in the house, I wanted to see how bad it was, and it was bad. Like when I went into my room, everything was out. Like my PS5 was on my desk. No, it was downstairs and it was melted. My headphones were like melted in the stairs, and I had cause I like Funko Pops. I am a kid, but I like Funko Pops, and all my Funko Pops dead. I had one that it was in my closet, and it was already valued in like $70, and I wanted to keep it for a long time. That thing was gone. Like everything was gone. My shoes, I love shoes, and my shoes are gone. So it was like a big thing, and you're grateful about the fact that like no lives
Yeah,
were
no
lost,
lives were lost.
because also our granddad, he also passed away a couple months before that happened. But one thing I am grateful for is the fact that God does everything, for a reason. And I feel like he took him away for that same reason. Because let's say if he was there, we know that it would be really difficult for him to get out the house. Let's say that,
Yep.
he would have stayed there with my grandma. And
Which was usually the case.
yeah, it's usually the case. We were going to church was it for practice? I think it was for practice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for practice. So they would have stayed at the house. And my grandpa his walking was really difficult. Like, it was really difficult for him to walk. So imagine if the house was burning, you know, it would have been a lot. It would have been a lot to handle. So I feel like all those things really come through in a moment that you don't really understand, but afterwards, you think about it, you're like, okay, yeah, that
Yep.
really worked out.
And after everything happens, you're just like, thank you,
Thank you,
God,
God. Yeah, because
that no one was hurt because honestly, months before that, like he said, our grandpa did die, and that was a really hard situation to go through as well because our grandparents used to live with
yeah,
us. So we saw him every day,
yeah,
morning, nighttime, a lot of laughs, a lot of happy moments with him. He had dementia during that time, so it was like he didn't let that affect him. So he had a
yeah,
good impact on our
yeah,
life.
yeah. Like, I only knew him for the time I was here in this country, and it was still like I knew him for a long time. Like,
Yeah,
and it was really sad his passing, and then the house. So we took the pause because we had these.
yeah,
She had the idea since before he passed. I think it was
yeah.
around April, and he passed in May. So it was before that she had the idea. We were building up on it. We were thinking about it, and he passed. We're like, okay, it's a hard time. We're gonna take a pause. Then we kept going. We made the post, we announced it and everything, and then the house burned down. So we took another pause. This pause, it was a little longer.
It was a little
It
long.
was a little longer, but I think that God does everything with a purpose. So
Yeah.
we took that idea, we built up on it again, and we're here now.
Yep,
We're here,
starting the new year off by posting because
right?
maybe this was the year that we needed to do it, not
Hmm.
last year.
Yeah,
And that's okay because sometimes God delays our plans, but He knows why He delays them because once He delays them and then we do it in the correct time and we wait for
yeah,
His perfect timing, then it'll actually succeed.
yeah. Bible says everything on earth has its time. So you know the time of God is here, and we're here to build up on it. But also another thing I want to talk about is how we came up with this idea.
Yes, I came
She
up.
did, actually. How she came up with this idea.
Yeah, I came up with the idea.
How she came up with this idea, because she's very creative. So, talk about it.
Yeah. Honestly, this idea came up during the time as we spoke earlier during the sickness of my dad, where I really saw how the whole congregation really came through for us and really helped us out. But then I also saw how, also us like individually, we were there for each other. Like me and Junior, we're siblings. We were there for each other and the whole time, checking up on each other, like, hey, are you okay? Or just keeping a positive mood. But other people, other pastor kids or ministry kids, they may not have no one else to do that for. And then it was just like, oh, maybe something out there is there for pastor kids. But when I searched, there's like stuff, but it's a
It's
project that
unfinished.
never really ends
Yeah.
or goes through
Yeah.
completely. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we can be the first pastor kids to actually
Keep
go
going with that.
through
Yeah.
with the full podcast, more episodes, bringing into importance the mental health of pastor kids, how we feel, how we take certain situations, and just bring forth the pastor kid
Yeah. The whole
importance.
ministry of being always, in the spotlight. And when she told me about it, I was like, no. I said no immediately because I'm not a big camera guy. I don't like being in the spotlight. But, um, I prayed about it. We both thought about it. We talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought the idea was amazing. And
Yeah.
we're here now. She convinced me. And I
I mean,
think it was for the best.
also because we did grow up differently,
Hmm.
so other people, many people can relate with me, but others can relate to Junior as he wasn't always a pastor
Yeah.
kid. He did have a basically before Christ life.
Right.
I was not born into it, but from what my memory
Yeah.
can
You're.
remember, all I remember is just being Christian. I don't remember much about being in New York compared to Junior, where he was in Panama. He lived a much, much different life than me. So there's different stuff that people can relate to.
Yeah, a big example could be with that with the house, because when what happened with the house happened, I remember that one time I asked her, I was like, "What are we gonna do now?" And then she was like, "We gotta keep going to church." Even though that happened last year, and which would have been my fourth year here, you might think that I'm already used to like having to go to church, even though those things happen. But I'm not used to always having to go to church after those hard things happen. So I was like, when this Mary told me that we had to keep going to church, I was like, okay, that's gotta be something, and it definitely was. But after that, you get used to it. You deal with it, and God, God is always gonna be there for you. God is always gonna
Yeah.
be there, even though you're in those hard times, and through the storm, God is gonna be there with you. And I had to understand that through that situation, and she helped me out with that. But those are some things that people may not know. Like, people may
Yeah.
think that we're under like we may not go through things, but we do. We're always going through things, but that's what we want this space to be. The space to let people know what really goes on with a ministry kid.
Yep. Bring importance to that.
Our amazing conference moving forward came, and that was amazing.
That was
That was amazing,
amazing.
and all the preparation months before, and during that process, getting the new house, coming to the new house, like, a lot of responsibility came, and we still deal with it. God let us go through that, and there was a lot of reward after it. So
Yep.
I feel like that was really, really nice.
It was really good to see how the Lord moved during that conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think everything that we went through this past year and all our lives is
Mm-hmm.
really worth it now at the end of the day, because we serve in
Mm-hmm.
I serve in 3 ministries. He
I serve
serves
in
in
two.
2.
Yeah,
For now, we'll see which other ministries. And
none.
that's very common in pastor kids. You'll see
Oh yeah.
all of us serving. We could be ushers, we could be pianists, we could be singers, we could be dancers. We can teach kids. Like, we'll do everything because at the end of the day, that's our second home. Like,
Mm-hmm.
church is really our
Yeah.
second home.
That was, I think, the week of before the conference. I think we spend more time at church than at home.
Yeah.
Like, we going to school, and then after school is come home, change, eat, go to church, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I actually love it. I actually love being
Yeah.
busy with church, because I'd rather be at church than doing anything else. So it's a big thing. But we also have lives outside of church.
Outside of church,
She
yeah.
dances, and I play soccer, so
You can still,
you can still balance it
like,
out.
although our lives, like a lot of people do say our lives are very full,
Of
very
things, yeah.
compact, like tight schedule, we still have time for ourselves. Like,
Hmm.
every Sunday after church, we try to make time for our family, hang out as a family,
Yeah,
or even hang out with our
with our
friends, because
friends.
it is a little hard, back to back church, but
Hmm.
we also make the time for ourselves because we know that that's really important, taking care of ourselves, our mental health,
Hmm.
because it is a hard
Hmm.
ongoing life, but it's also important to just think back on us and take a break and take a deep breath and be like, okay.
No, I think the sacrifice that we do, our family does all the time for the ministry, it always pays off. Like,
Yep.
all the time, it pays off,
All the time.
and we get our time for ourselves, but also sacrificing a lot. Like, you gotta sacrifice a lot to live this life,
Yep.
and to keep our congregation running. I feel like the one thing that I love to see as being a pastor kid is, like, see the sacrifice that my parents make, that
Yep.
the people that are really close to us do. So all those things that they do, like, you always be learning. Like, in this life, you're always learning
Yep.
something
We're
new.
always learning.
And I feel like that's something that people really don't see or don't appreciate as much. Maybe the sacrifice that the pastor just, like, always have to be doing, like, all those things that they gotta be doing all the time. Like, I remember when my dad got sick, like, y'all wouldn't see that, but my dad being sick, it would be very hard for him to stand up the bed, and he would still go to church and preach, and
Yep.
he would give a word, Holy Spirit would move, everything would happen as if he was totally fine. People would not notice it, but he was not fine, and he still had to stand up in the altar, and some people are really ungrateful about that. And I don't want to say this, but I mean, it's the truth, and we're uncensored, so we're gonna say it. But people are not grateful all the time about that. They don't appreciate the fact that the pastors make a lot of sacrifice for the church. To keep
Mhm.
the church running, to keep people pleased, to keep God pleased. Because that's the whole goal, to worship God, and to keep a church running. You know, there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with it, and people are, most of the time people don't see that. And it's really, really sad that they don't.
Yep. And that's what we really want you guys to see throughout the
Hmm.
podcast. Like, see different perspectives of what we live, what our family lives, or what even other ministry kids live, because it's not just us,
Yeah.
it's other people.
Mhm.
And so many times other people in the congregation don't see it, or people on social media don't see it. Many times pastors, I always see it, pastors get clipped in wrong ways to just make it seem like they're saying
Right.
something wrong, but you haven't listened to the full sermon. You just clip two parts to make it look bad. And people don't really think about, oh, he has kids, he has a family. Like, people don't see that or think about it before posting, and all you see are just like threats coming to the pastor, threats coming to our lives. But
Yeah.
what about the threats coming to the kids?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that get like put out of context, and you know, it's like I said, it's that's just people being ungrateful because like you don't see the amount of sacrifice people do, and in social media, like all the time, like you will always see it, like, and it's so crazy how people get out of context, but all those things that like kids go through that this pastor's kid go through, like all those things we want to bring it out here in this space, this cameras, like that's something that we want people to notice, and not only from our perspectives, from our point of views, but from other like kids' points of view. You know,
Yeah.
it don't really always gotta be our like how we see it, because something's always happening in a church, something's always happening,
Yep.
and we want people to know all those things that go on. You know, we want people to see all those things that can happen with other kids. So this is the
Yeah.
space for it. You know.
Yeah, we want to create a space for other pastor kids or other ministry kids to feel safe enough to come here and express their opinions, express their voice, you know, put their thoughts out there to the world and what they live, because we're not the only level, you know,
Right.
where there's ministry kids, which their parents could be famously
Since
globally since they were born.
yeah.
There's apostle kids, which it's even greater. They have
Right.
2 or 3 churches they have to look over,
Mhm.
and that's also even rush life, like, you know, back to back churches.
Yeah, mega church kids, like those are things that we want to see, you know. So this is the space for us to bring out those ideals, to bring out those things that always be happening. So we want you guys to watch all of it. We want you guys
Yep.
to, you know, we want to keep you guys updated with everything that happens, with every episode that comes, and there's always gonna be something new that we're gonna talk about, you know.
Yep. But in
So
order to be updated, you also have to subscribe to our
right, you
channel.
also gotta like it, you also gotta share it. You know, y'all gotta do all these things so we can bring out more content. All right.
Yeah.
So this is Pastor Kids Unrestricted. We want to see y'all in the next episode.
Uncensored.
Uncensored. We want to see y'all in the next episode. All right. So, bye, y'all.
Bye. PK's out.
PK's out.